Alright guys, this is Casey from the Nexus, and I just thought I'd do a video over my Neos deck, which is the deck I'll be starting next format with. First things first, 3 Neos. I've tested this deck with only 2, and it is not nearly fast enough with only 2, so since the deck is based off of him, you kind of need him at 3. Stratos, because you've got to be a moron to build a hero deck with no Stratos. Agors, I confuse with it. I don't carry much back row, so if I do take a direct hit, I have something to back myself up. Honest, because besides Agors, every monster in my deck is light. Grand Mole. I really think you've got to be a moron to build a Neos deck and not use a Grand Mole. I mean, it's rather obvious. 2 Effect Veilers, because I decided not to keep Skill Drain in the main build, and it stops a lot of monsters that I don't like, and a lot of monsters that other people don't like. 3 Neos Alias, because he's a 1900 beat stick, and if I need or want to, I could just re-normal summon him to use his name as Neos, for the obvious reasons. And 3 Prismas, because every hero monster in your deck, well, not every hero monster, but you'll be using him to pitch Neos from the deck to the graveyard, and on some occasions Grand Mole, because I have had 2 of them on the field, had 1 copy Neos, 1 copy Grand Mole, and used them to contact fuse into Grand Neos. Yes, I mean Grand Neos. And that is only 15 monsters in the entire deck, and there are 18 magic cards. I do main the staples, which are Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, and Reinforcement. Monster Reborn, it for the most part goes for Stratos, but I have used it on Neos quite a few times. 2 emergency calls, because there are your 3 emergency calls. That's all you need. Hell, the deck worked well enough without the reinforcement, but I wanted to keep it in there. 2 Mystical Space Typhoon to go with that Heavy Storm. My deck doesn't like back row. It can get around it easily, but it doesn't like it. So I can get rid of back row somewhat decently. 2 Pot of Dualities, because I don't special summon every turn. So it's fine. I can use it a lot, especially on first turn. 2 Super Polys, because my deck can fuse with everything. And I have every Omni hero in my extra deck to make sure I can. 3 Miracle Contacts. For those of you who don't know what this card does yet, it shuffles into the deck from your hand, field, or graveyard fusion material monsters listed on an elemental hero Neos fusion monster, and special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. So it brings out every single fusion monster that lists elemental hero Neos as a fusion material, which is amazing because they are all so good. And 3 Miracle Fusions, because I have been known to Monster Reborn my opponent's monster just to Miracle Fusion into a specific type of fusion monster. And even though I banish monsters from my field and graveyard, I primarily get Shining 9 or 8/10ths of the time. So my Shining will recycle everything back into my hand, and the Miracle Contacts will recycle all the fusion monsters back into the extra deck. That's 18 magic cards. And I have 7 trap cards, 2 of which are Mirror Force, because I don't know why anyone will refuse to run 2 Mirror Forces. 2 Torrentials, and 3 Compulse. The entire point of my 7 trap cards is to keep the field clear, which it always does. These are all amazing trap cards in this build, and I would rather not I wouldn't rather any other trap cards in here. They're just so good working. They just work so well together. Next, the extra deck. My tokens that I did myself, like everything. 1 Absolute Zero, because I can Super Poly into water monsters like Leviair. Or not Leviair, but Leviathan Dragon. Since I don't main deck any waters myself, I only need 1 of them, so... And like I said before, Miracle Contact recycles them from the graveyard back into the extra deck. 2 Escuridows, because I run 1 Dark Monster and I can Super Poly with another. Or Miracle Fusion with 1. 1 Gaia, because I don't run any Earths, but if I go up against a skill drain deck, I can fuse with Beast King Barbaros. Or other Earth monsters like Rockstun. 1 Grand Neos. I've used Grand Neos quite a bit. And I mainly just bring it out by Miracle Contact, but I have normally Contact fused with Prisma, 2 Prismas copying themselves for Neos and Grand Mole, or a Grand Mole and a Neo or a Prisma copying Neos. And a lot of times when I do that, it will end the game. 1 Great Tornado. Yes, 1 Great Tornado. Because I run a Wind, and just in case I go up against a mirror match, and I can fuse with their Stratos. Okay. 3 Neos Knight. For those of you who don't know what Neos Knight does, he takes 1 Neos and 1 Warrior monster. When successfully summoned, he gains half the attack points of the fusion material monster that was not Elemental Hero Neos. That being said, if you use 2 Neoses to fuse into him, he doesn't gain anything. But I normally fuse I use Contact or Miracle Contact to fuse Neos and Stratos, or Neos and Prisma most of the time. So he's normally around at least 3,300, which is almost always the strongest monster on the field. And he's light, so I can use Honest on him too. He attacks twice every battle phase, but he doesn't deal battle damage. And yes, I have a point to that in a sec. 1 Nova Master. I am just waiting for the day I use Super Poly on Zenmains just to go into this. Otherwise, I just fuse with my opponent's levels. 2 Shinings. Because every monster in my deck besides Gores is light, and Miracle Contact always shuffles it back into the extra deck, so I can bring it out as many times as I damn well please. 1 Vision Hero Adoration, just in case I go on a mirror match and I can use Super Poly during game 1. And then 2 Blade Armor Ninjas. Because I run primarily Warriors, and I don't really need to go in any other rank 4s. Okay. The point of the deck, if nobody has caught on to it yet, is to summon Neos Knight with either Miracle Contact or Miracle Fusion. I can do both. Even though he doesn't deal battle damage, he will almost always be the strongest monster on the field, so I can just use him to take out all of my opponent's hitters, whether they be in attack or defense mode. And then, my other monsters can just attack directly. So they're just beat stick monsters to just go, So they can go, That's really all the deck does. Like I said, a lot of times I've had 2 Prismas on the field, and I have used 1 to copy Neos and 1 to copy Grand Mole. Because if the only thing in my way to my opponent's final life points is a monster, I can just go copy, copy, then send them back to the deck to summon Grand Neos, bounce their only monster, and attack for a game, which is what I do most of the time. Or better yet, I've used Miracle Contact to send these 2 back to get Grand Neos, while having any other hero on the field, so I can go attack, or Grand Neos bounce, attack, attack, and if they haven't dropped anything, I can go Super Poly for the Shining for game. It's really all the deck does. I mean, the win conditions aren't just the Fusing or Blade Armor Ninja, but my monsters themselves can just sit there and just go attack. I've tested this build against current format Inzectors and windups and stuff like that, and so far I haven't lost a match. I'm not saying that I'm not going to get cocky or anything about that. I'm just saying I just haven't lost one yet. I'm honestly waiting for it so I know what to do afterwards. Our first tournament for this format is Saturday, since Saturday is the 1st. So I will see how well it's going to do then, and I will post an update about it. That was my Neos deck, and I'm KC. I will see you guys in my next video.